Howdy, howdy. Welcome to Mo's World Podcast. Yep, another baseball podcast. But here, we're going to talk about baseball like a few friends sitting around at the bar.
Awesome!
We welcome your input, help improve us, and make us grow. Today's episode will be kind of analytical and discussing OPS. Seems we are inundated with 190 batting averages now in the major leagues. Thank you, Joey Gallo. So, average is not a topic, but OPS? Interesting, right? Looking at OPS, it's obvious who the career leader is, and that's Babe Ruth. But, come on, the Babe was a freak. So, let's talk about the guy who was hated by the media, never acknowledged crowds and fans, but could hit. Ted Williams. Now, we all have listeners in here that are all ages, but I do hope everyone knows about Ted Williams. If not, look him up on my favorite baseball site, baseballreference.com. Let's get into it. Let's think of this after the immortal Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Top 25 career OPS leaders are definitely interesting list. Looking at the leaderboard just makes you appreciate what a hitter Ted Williams was. Died in 1960. 64 years ago. Yeah, I know. I'm an old man, but that's a different story. Ted played 19 years, missing time in his prime for the Korean War. So, we can only imagine his career stats and not miss 3 years from age 24 season in 1943, to age 26 season in 1945. He led Major League Baseball in 41, 42, went to war, then returned in 46, and picked up where he left off, leading the Major League Baseball in OPS and continued to lead in 47, 48, and 49. 6 years in a row. Today, we talk about how incredible Juan Soto is getting on base, how good he can become. That is all so true. He redefined the Yankee lineup this year, but he is number 24 on the career list. So, he has a ways to go. Ted ended up leading Major League Baseball in 10 of his 19 years in the league. Also, his career OPS plus number of 191 wasn't too shabby either, as he led Major League Baseball in that category for 9 years. So, he had some incredible years, obviously. But here's the number to think. He retired with a career 1.116 OPS. That's crazy consistency. So, to define how good of a number that is, let's think of some of the other names that are on the list of eras they played in. See, this is the thing about baseball. Over any other sport, baseball fans are stat geeks. We love comparing players, teams. Hell, we even compared the friggin' baseball. So, let's take a look at the first decade of baseball after Ted Williams retired. The 1960s, .062. That's pretty damn good, as he led the league 3 years in a row from 1960, 61, and 62. And that's after getting traded to the Baltimore Orioles. He led the American League in 1966 with a 1.47 OPS. Frank ended his 21-year career with a 926 OPS. While Mickey Mantle led the American League in OPS in the 60s with a 1.078. Mick led the league 3 times and had career OPS of 958. He was followed by Hammer and Hank Aaron, who had an OPS of 928 in the 60s. Now, those are some good players that played in a combination of exploiting the expansion period and dealing with a dominant pitching time at the end of the 60s. Now, we really haven't talked about some of these other players that were OPS leaders. Six, Dick Allen. Dick Allen led a couple of years, 67, 66, 970, and 1.07. Uh, Dick Allen, ball player, Philly. We had Willie Mays on the list in the National League, and the Giants were, a good team there. They even had Willie McCovey on as well, 69 and 68. Over in the American League, he got a robust leaderboard, 60. We have talked about Reggie Jackson, Paul Yastrzemski, Bob Allison. That's a name a lot of people don't recognize. But look him up. An interesting play. He played for Minnesota Twins. 63. He led the OPS in the American League with a .911. And then Norm Cash, the Detroit Tigers. He kicked ass in 61 as well. 61 was the season. You would have thought that Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris would have led an OPS. Norm Cash had a 1.148, which was the highest number in the decade for OPS that year. And the Detroit Tigers had a lot of good players that year. So that to me, that was surprising. Moving into the 70s, tackle that next. PEDs could be in the Hall of Fame. They skewed the record. Barry Bonds. I mean, look at Barry before steroids and after steroids. I'm stuck on ignoring it. It is what it is. In the 90s, you had to struggle to see who was a clean player. We all know that Barry Bonds led OPS. He led in everything. Then you also had Jeff Bagwell in 94 with a 1.201 OPS. Outrageous, right? Barry Bonds, Gary Sheffield. The only clean player of the era, I believe, is Larry Walker, who led the National League in OPS 1997 with a 1.172. And he also led it in 99 in Colorado with a 1.168. So National League was pretty tainted, I believe. The American League, he didn't have a prize there either. I mean, we started off with Ricky Henderson, who, I don't know. I think Ricky Henderson was pretty clean. But, we had Frank Thomas, John Olerud, definitely clean there. Edgar Martinez clean. Mark McGuire tainted. Frank Thomas tainted. Albert Bell and Manny Ramirez. Those are the leaders from the 90s. I don't really want to get into it as far as that aspect of debating over should we recognize these leaders. I don't. I just ignore it and move on to the next topic. And that was the 2000 OPS. The 2000s were led by Albert Pujols, who led the league 3 times and had a career .918 OPS. And then we had Manny Ramirez, who we know was tainted as well. He led the league 2 times, had a career .996 OPS. You got to look up the first 10 years of Albert Pujols, though. He was going to be the next reigning new Lou Gehrig. He was unbelievable his first 10 years. And we've got a taste of that now because it's ironic that they both played as teammates. But Mike Trout, his first 10 years of his career, he was the next Mickey Mantle. And these guys just disappeared. It's a shame that Albert Pujols did not pan out to have, even if he played half his ability from his first 10 years, would have had unbelievable career stats. Now, I'm not just talking OPS. Look it up, take a gander at it. And it was pretty wild. So moving into the 2010, let's do that next. We've got Mike Trout era coming into play, right? So 2010 saw Mike Trout set the pace, leading the American League in OPS 4 times and averaging 1.000, right on the head for the decade. National League leader was Joey Votto, leading 2 times and carrying a decade-long OPS of 944. Miguel Cabrera, he led the league 2 times while producing a decade OPS of 943. Paul Goldschmidt rounded off the list by leading the National League 1 time while having a decade OPS of .916. And coming into our last era, the 2020. Alrighty, well, the 2020 saw Aaron Judge take charge, leading the league 2 times and carrying an OPS of 994. So far for his career, Juan Soto has led the league 1 time, producing a career 952 OPS. Lots of new names entering this list. So there's some great names on this list for the past 60 years of baseball OPS leaders. But as we have Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Bryce Harper, Ronald Acuna Jr., and a host more of great players now in the league, just take some time to appreciate the history of baseball and recognize Ted Williams as an on-base OPS rock star. So, this has been fun. Tossing around some stats, numbers. Hope you enjoyed our first episode of Mo's World, the baseball podcast. I hope you join us weekly. New episodes will be released on Fridays. There'll be less than a 20-minute broadcast, and we really are looking forward to expanding on this. Get in contact with us. Give us some ideas. Let us know what you'd like to talk about. Next week's episode will be a little stat-oriented as well. We'll be discussing some career statistics and records, and one record in particular that will never be broken. Yep, we've all talked about the home run record, the Lou Gehrig record. How did Cal Ripken break that? Well, the next week's episode, I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it, will never be broken. It will never be approached. It is a record that you will talk about and saying, holy shit, really? So, think about it for a week. Join us next Friday for episode number 2. Whose world is it? It's Mo's World.